1948. The air in the peaceful Downriver community of Trenton was filled with new sounds. Pile drivers, earth movers, and other heavy machinery moving over the site of the new $100 million expansion program of the McLouth Steel Corporation. Donald B. McLouth, founder of the McLouth Steel Corporation, was watching his life's ambitions and dreams come true. The steel processing company he began in southwest Detroit in 1932 would soon become a fully integrated mill. When the Trenton Plant was dedicated September 21, 1954, it became the Trenton area's first major employer. Family Day '88 began in the chill and drizzle of an October Saturday. But the day's participants were optimistic about the weather and came out by the thousands to take part in an informative and festive occasion. Employees of McLouth Steel Products, their families, and their friends gathered to celebrate a Downriver success story. As they traveled through the mill, they discovered the world of steel making and the pride of the steel makers. Dominating the skyline of the Trenton Channel are the behemoths of the steel industry, the blast furnaces. Here, millions of tons of pelletized iron ore are unloaded by massive Great Lakes carriers which sail from ports in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Daily unit trains loaded with coke arrive from huge coking complexes in Virginia. These two main ingredients of steel, prefluxed iron ore pellets and coke, are hoisted to the top of the furnace in skip buckets. How much, Dad? Lots. Thousands of tons a day. Although the quantities of materials charged into the furnace are huge, they are carefully measured, just like the ingredients Mom puts in her chocolate chip cookies. The ore and coke mix together inside the furnace to form what is called the burden. Air is superheated to 1700 degrees Fahrenheit in stoves, the large cylindrical structures that you see in this view of the furnace complex. It's then blown into the bottom of the furnace at the rate of 115,000 cubic feet per minute. That's enough to change the air in the Pontiac Silverdome every 7 minutes. The superheated air causes a reaction between the ore and coke to form pure molten iron and slag, the impurities that have floated out of the iron. Here we see the furnace crewman heating one of the special brick-lined railroad cars called bottle cars that carry the molten iron by rail to the melt shop where it will be converted to steel. Now comes the big show. It's time to cast the furnace. Every member of the furnace crew knows his job. He's part of a team which must work perfectly together to safely direct the molten iron through the runners in the cast house and into the bottle cars. A giant air-driven drill penetrates a clay plug in the furnace tap hole, and the iron flows in a spectacular show into the runners. In the furnace control room, strict attention is paid to the activities on the cast house floor by the steel worker who must stop the flow at exactly the right moment. The molten slag, which is lighter than the iron and therefore floats on top, follows the iron from the tap hole. Slag must not be mixed with the iron in the bottle car, so at the right moment, a gate in the cast house runner is closed, sending the slag down a different runner and out into the slag pit, where it will cool and solidify. Slag becomes solid rock just like lava from a volcano. Later it will be crushed and used in the manufacture of concrete and the construction of road beds. At the end of the cast, the tap hole is replugged with clay by a machine called the mud gun. The clay rapidly hardens and securely seals off the furnace until the next cast. Next stop, the melt shop. Ma, when are we going to get some pizza? At the melt shop, molten iron and recycled scrap steel are loaded into huge oxygen vessels, while scrap only is charged into the electric arc furnaces. Here, iron and scrap become molten steel. Unlike iron, which is very brittle, steel can be rolled into thin sheets and formed into many shapes. The first two oxygen vessels, constructed in 1954, were not just the first ones at McLouth, but the first ones in the United States. For McLouth was the first American steelmaker to use the oxygen process in the production of high-quality steel. After several years of operation, the original vessels were replaced with larger ones, giving our plant more capacity. A replica of an early steelmaking vessel proudly stands at the main gate of the Trenton Works, a symbol of the company's pioneering spirit. When the hot metal arrives from the blast furnace department, it's poured from the bottle cars into special brick-lined ladles. Scrap is dumped or charged into the oxygen vessels first. Then an overhead crane transports the hot metal ladle up to the operating floor and pours the iron into the vessel. Once the vessel hood is swung into place, a special pipe called a lance is lowered through an opening and pure oxygen is blown into the molten iron. Wow, what a reaction! The oxygen rapidly unites with all the impurities in the metal, and the dirty gases formed are contained by the hood. They are then drawn through pipes and later filtered and washed before being discharged. Is that what happened to our old car? You bet. Our old car and your broken bike. The electric arc furnaces also convert scrap iron and steel into pure new molten steel. In the electric furnaces, huge solid carbon electrodes are lowered through the roof of the furnace. Electricity is applied to the electrodes, and when they come into contact with the metal in the furnace, a giant short circuit occurs. Wow, again! How much electricity? Enough to light our home for years. The electric arc raises the temperature of the steel to over 3,000 degrees. Steel makers check the temperature, and when it's just right, the steel is poured into ladles and transported to the continuous caster. Before molten steel from the oxygen vessels and electric furnaces is transported to the continuous caster, it is sent to ladle metallurgy or argon stirring stations, where precise chemistry is achieved and steel temperature is adjusted. Is the Noid going to be at the caster? Don't worry, they won't run out of pizza. Didn't you see that huge pizza truck by the tent outside? At the continuous caster, the ladles of molten steel are lifted and poured into a receiving chamber called the tundish. Operators keep constant watch over the flow rates and the temperature of the steel. From here it flows down through a mold which cools it and forms it into a huge continuous strand of solid steel. At the lower end, the steel is cut to specified lengths and carried to the hot mill slab yard to await further processing. In keeping with its pioneering tradition, McLouth Steel was the first steel mill in the United States to produce 100% continuous cast steel slabs. Throughout the mill, there are many shops in which you'll find highly skilled craftsmen, like these brick masons, keeping the mill equipment in top condition. Electrical and mechanical maintenance personnel work hard day and night in all kinds of weather to keep our plant going. And wherever you go in the mill, overhead crane operators are moving back and forth, keeping the supplies and steel moving. At the head of the line in the hot mill, the slabs are soaked in heat, a lot of heat, as they travel through our new modern slab reheat furnace. The temperature of the slab must be just right and perfectly even through the slab to guarantee that the hot rolled strip will be top quality. When they reach 2300 degrees, they are extracted from the furnace and travel to the turnaround station to begin their journey down the line, on their way to becoming a large coil of very thin hot rolled steel. Well, Dad, the Noid didn't get to that slab, did he? At the bloomer, the slab is turned on its edge and rolled to perfect width. Then it is flopped back down and rolled thinner and longer, thinner and longer, thinner and longer, before being sent down the line to the roughing stand. At the roughing stand, the process of squeezing the slab even thinner continues. The rollers exert thousands of pounds of pressure on the slab as it passes through. What started out as a 9-inch thick slab becomes a much longer strip of steel with a thickness of 1 1/4 inches. The surface of the steel is blown with water under very high pressure to remove any scale that might form. At the 6-stand finishing mill, the steel only passes through once, but notice that as it goes from one stand to the next, it is traveling faster and faster as each stand rolls it thinner and thinner until it's exactly the required thickness or gauge. In our hot mill, we make steel from 1/2 inch thick all the way down to 6/100 of an inch, the thickness of a penny. Traveling at speeds up to 40 feet per second, the long sheet of steel is cooled by spray water as it approaches the coiler. It rapidly wraps around a mandrel, forming a coil, then moves up to be marked and banded. Now it is ready to be slit or pickled here at the hot mill, shipped directly to one of our customers, or processed further in our Gibraltar cold mill. Hey, I hear music, and I smell pizza, and a hot cup of coffee would really hit the spot just about now. One last stop. Some of the hot strip is slit to smaller widths to satisfy specific customer requests. The blades in the slitter are very sharp and are under great pressure. As you see, they have no trouble at all making very clean, perfect cuts in the steel. The narrow coils are then remarked and rebanded, and while they await shipment, let's get something to eat. Wow, that was a fun tour. I sure worked up an appetite. Let's check out the tent. Ah, so many toppings on so many pizzas and so little time. The huge striped tent was a happy gathering place for all at McLouth Family Day. New friends were made, old acquaintances were renewed. Harry Lester came out to meet the families of the steelworkers. As always, Harry enjoyed greeting his longtime friends, both at the tent and later as he toured the plant.
It's our plant now, and we should treat it as our plant and work like it's our plant. That we're working for ourselves, that we're making money for ourselves, and we're making our working conditions better. We're making everything better for ourselves.
With a variety of food and beverages to choose from, the vendor displays, the music, and a couple of friendly, huggable characters, everybody indulged in a good time. The enthusiasm and excitement shared by all signified the proud spirit that has made McLouth one of the nation's great business comeback stories. Many people not associated with the steel industry remarked on the closeness that steel workers share with each other. This warmth and camaraderie that is common to all steelmaking people is so strong because our industry, more than most others, relies on cooperation and teamwork. In order to produce a top-quality steel product, all of us, from those who smelt the ore to those who prepare the steel for shipment, are striving to meet individual goals that help assure our customers will receive only the finest steel, delivered undamaged and on time to their plants.
Did you see where he worked? Yeah. Now you can appreciate him a little bit more. When he says, boy, was I tired, you'll know what he did.
A big thanks must go to all of the suppliers that participated in Family Day 88. We all realize that it takes time and expense to prepare and set up the interesting displays that attracted many curious onlookers. A healthy steel industry not only brings prosperity to those of us that are directly employed by the integrated mills, this prosperity spreads itself to the suppliers and their families. Every part of Family Day 88 was a great success, and that says great things about the people of McLouth Steel Products. The employee owners of this company and their families can look forward to future celebrations because there are sure to be many accomplishments worth celebrating. Now that your tummies are full and you've rested your feet, let's follow those hot rolled coils that were awaiting shipment. Up to 50% of all hot strip produced at the Trenton plant is shipped by truck to the cold rolling facility in Gibraltar. Ground was broken for our cold rolled sheet steel facility in Gibraltar, Michigan in early 1954, and the plant was placed in operation in mid-1955. Steel is shipped to Gibraltar and cold rolled so that its gauge and physical characteristics can be altered to satisfy the requirements of our customers. First stop for both visitors and coils is the pickle line. Here the steel, which was so carefully coiled and banded at the hot mill, is unbanded and uncoiled. The front end of each strip is neatly trimmed and welded to the tail end of the previous strip, so that a continuous piece of steel can travel through the pickling operation. No, we don't dip coils in vinegar and salt to pickle them. Rather, we wash the steel and treat it with hydrochloric acid, which removes any scale and lightly etches the surface of the steel. This operation takes place within the 240-foot tower that dominates the skyline of the plant. At the end of the pickle line, the continuous strip of cleaned, etched steel is cut to specific lengths and recoiled, only to be uncoiled again for its trip through the four-stand tandem mill. In the four-stand tandem mill, the gauge or thickness of the strip is reduced to meet the specific requirements of the customer. Then, once again, the steel is coiled and banded. Now the steel is ready for annealing. Here the hardness of the coil is removed by heating it for 3 to 4 days in portable cylindrical furnaces that reach 1300 degrees Fahrenheit. The steel is gradually brought to the required temperature in the first 30 hours, then cooled for the remaining 50 to 72 hours. Upon being removed from the annealing furnaces, the steel is in a state referred to as dead soft. It then must cool for an additional 2 to 4 days to reach 100 degrees or less. Now it's ready for further processing. Most of our customers require steel with some degree of hardness. The hardness requirement is determined by the size, shape, and application of the parts that will be formed. The adjustment to final gauge, shape, surface texture, and required hardness is performed by the skin pass mill. As the steel passes through the 32-inch rolls, which exert enormous pressure on the steel, it reaches speeds up to 40 miles per hour. This final squeezing reduces the coil thickness by 1/2 to 1% and introduces the desired temper or hardness. From this point, most of the steel has been banded for the last time and is ready for shipment to the customer. Hey, Dad, there's Harry Lester. By customer request, some of the steel is slit to specified narrow widths or sheared to various lengths. At the customer service line, which is the final step in processing, flatness and coil size are fine-tuned by passing the product through yet another set of large, specially finished rolls. Once banded and either sprayed with a protective coating or wrapped, these coils will be transferred to the shipping area and eventually loaded onto railroad cars or trucks and sent to the customer's facility. All of the rolls that come into contact with the steel surface, both at the hot and cold mills, are constantly checked for cracks, uneven shape, or other flaws that might affect the quality of the steel surface. At both mills, there are giant grinders, whose highly skilled operators dress the surface of the rolls to a high degree of precision. Before rolls are put back into action, they are carefully measured. Precise roll diameters are critical to the performance of any mill in the plant. Where a special texture is desired, a satin-like finish is achieved in a special shot blasting booth. Among the natural elements vital to the manufacture of steel are vast quantities of water and air. In fact, for every ton of steel that we produce, over 100 tons of water pass through our plant. Fulfilling its obligation as a good corporate citizen, McLouth Steel Products has expended over $150 million in pollution abatement equipment and programs. We all share a commitment at McLouth to keep the environment in which we work clean and healthy. As we pursue better technology for making better steel, we also explore new ways to conserve resources and treat our waste. Most new technology in the steel industry is geared toward the objective of producing high-quality steel on a consistent basis at reasonable cost and for on-time delivery. To meet the demands of our customers and compete in an international marketplace, we enhance the quality of our product throughout the entire manufacturing process. Among the many support functions that are essential to the steelmaking process are the facilities that monitor product quality. Cooperation between these technicians, other behind-the-scenes people, and the steel makers out on the floor is an ingredient of good steel as important as iron ore.
I've been fortunate enough to have seen steel mills throughout the country, and indeed throughout the world. And I think McLouth Steel is truly unique. It is located in the heart of the steel-consuming market, and the plant layout is ideal for efficient operation. The facilities are in place to make steel of the highest possible quality. But what sets McLouth apart from the rest of the steel industry are its people, the employees, the owners. Working together in a cooperative partnership, the people of McLouth are establishing the company as a consistent, dependable supplier of quality steel. Our people anticipate and respond to the customer's needs. That's the key to our continuing prosperity. Confidence comes not only from our customers. Our suppliers, many of whom participated in Family Day 88, also have faith in us and enjoy doing business with McLouth. We are fair, firm, ethical, and we pay our bills on time. We thank them for supporting us and coming out to meet the families of their customers. A great deal of confidence has been demonstrated by our investors and creditors who have lent us money or accepted preferred stock so that we can make the capital investments necessary to improve the plant. And the community has a good reason to share in the McLouth pride. Our comeback has proven our commitment to Trenton, Gibraltar, and Riverview, and we intend to continue our performance, which will benefit the economic growth of the entire Downriver area. At McLouth Steel, we recognize that things happen because people make them happen. And when good steelmakers, who enjoy their jobs, are making good steel, the benefits go way beyond the steel mill gates. That's what's happening at McLouth Steel, an employee-owned company.
Though the weather was cloudy and cool, Family Day 88 was a great day. It brought together the families and friends of McLouth's employee owners to celebrate the glorious tradition and a promising future for one of America's pioneering steelmakers. It provided an opportunity for kids to find out what their mom's or dad's job is like. All of the kids discovered that their parents do something that's pretty neat. Filled with pizza, pop, and more importantly, fascinating facts about steelmaking, everyone left Family Day 88 a little smarter and a little prouder of the company that they're all a part of.